This episode of Political Radar is brought to you by ReleaseWire. ReleaseWire is a powerful media engagement service connecting businesses to journalists and bloggers. If you need to get the word out about your business, ReleaseWire is an effective and affordable way to reach journalists and bloggers who are truly interested. And we have a special offer for you today. Submit your first on-demand press release with ReleaseWire and save 25% by entering the discount code PoliticalRadar. That's Political Radar. ReleaseWire, from release to results.
Admiral, radar shows that we have liberals approaching at 3 o'clock, and libertarians at 9 o'clock, and conservatives at 6 o'clock. They're coming from every angle, every viewpoint. Oh, it's Political Radar with your hosts, Rhonda and Elliot.
Hey, all you political junkies, welcome to Political Radar. I'm sitting here today with episode 2 in front of me. So looking forward to this episode because we have a guest. Don't we, Elliot?
Yeah, am I supposed to introduce our guest?
I would love you to introduce our guests.
So we have Bill Galvin. Did I get that right?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay. I'm always super squeamish on the last names, and then when I try to do it and think I'm right, then they'll pronounce their name and it'll be completely wrong. So I always like people to pronounce their own names.
It's Alderman Bill Galvin.
I already.
You see, just call me Bill.
And Bill, so you are an alderman in Green Bay now?
Yes.
Freshly elected?
Yes.
And what was your background before that?
I was with the Green Bay Police Department for almost 36 years, and not much before that. I got hired when I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you pull me over ever?
Boy, there's a good chance.
Because I'd be like,
I've had people come up and tell me, I remember you, and I'm like, was it good or bad? You know.
So you know my background then?
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, speed racer. That's my license plate.
Oh, okay.
No, they won't even let you have good license plates anymore. That was a big thing in the news.
That's really, really cliche and lame. That's why.
Wow. Okay. Oh, that's why?
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why.
Okay.
We're stepping it up a bit in the city.
And I joke about the speeding thing, which I really don't do very much anymore because I know that that's one of your things.
It's
Thank
sensitive.
you.
I have to push your buttons every
Thank
once
you.
And today, Operation Frogger.
Right.
Do I need to stay off the roads?
You just need to stop for people crossing the street.
Well, I generally do anyway, but sometimes there's those people
You should
that
explain that. You should explain that to us, Operation Frogger.
Operation Frogger, it's based on an old arcade game where people would try and get a frog to cross the road without getting crushed. And so the PD will send out our CSIs, and we'll have chase cars set up, observers, and we have them cross the road to see if people will comply with the law and yield to pedestrians.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, if not, you're going to get pulled over, but actually they have a positive side to it. They're giving out free pizzas to people that do yield. So I think the last one, they gave out 29 pizzas and almost an equal amount of citations.
How do they track the people when they're giving out the pizzas? How do they make that work?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I would guess. You could pull them over, but to me that seems a waste of time. I imagine what they do is they get the plate, run it, and then mail a coupon with a letter to the owner of the vehicle.
What pizza? Can you say what brand of pizza?
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember.
Okay, details.
But it's one of the large chains. I know that.
Okay, cool.
Which is neat that if they're donating those, that's kind of cool that they're buying into this program too and supporting the community.
I've heard about Frogger. I wasn't really sure what it was exactly. I will say that I've experienced a lot more people yielding. But I think I actually put myself out there sometimes on purpose just to see if they will as well. But it has been better than it's been in a while. I will say that.
See, now you put that out there as a challenge to me.
Oh, yeah? Okay. You picked up on that?
Yeah, I would say it seems like people are more conscious of it. I know I am, and I know I've been guilty of it. So yeah, and I think it's our whole society. We're very driven to get from A to B as quickly as possible, and we're not stopping and smelling the roses as much as we should. And we all have jobs, kids, lives, and stuff like that, and that car can become, I think people get into it and they get too comfortable.
Well, so speaking of comfortable, are you comfortable with what's happening right now in the city as far as, the push for better pedestrian traffic
Absolutely.
relationship
Absolutely. I mean, obviously for my job, you see one person that gets hit by a car, and it's a lasting impact on you. And at the same time, I like the push. It's needed. I've been in Minneapolis, the cities around there, and it scared the hell out of me the first time I stepped up to the curb and all these cars came breaking to a stop because I wasn't used to that. But they have a much stricter and enforced law out there, and so people are much more aware of it. And I thought,
do you see them actually adding more than 2 traffic police officers to the traffic? I guess what would you call that?
It's a traffic enforcement.
Okay, do you believe they're going to do that? They're going to add more to that?
I've had some discussions with the chief. I'm not sure. I don't think we necessarily need a dedicated traffic unit. We need officers all aware of traffic laws and then the time to take the action to enforce those laws. When I started on the job, we did a lot of traffic enforcement because the call volume was not what it is today. And so there was a lot of downtime. And so you took that downtime and you made contacts through traffic enforcement. And as that call volume has risen, the officers have found themselves with less time to do that. So they enacted a traffic enforcement unit. But I think that can have a downside where the other officer's not on it, think, well, that's not my job anymore. We have a traffic unit. And so I should focus on other things. And I think that that's something you have to be careful of.
How do you feel about speed bumps?
I think speed bumps are cool. I think they help slow people down, but in this area with the snow, it's hell for the plow drivers.
So that's off the table.
I would say so. It doesn't make sense. I've seen things in Milwaukee that impressed me, and those were speed circles, not a roundabout. My nephew lives in the inner city and goes to UW Milwaukee, and I was dropping him off after a weekend together. And I saw these circles in the street every other block. And I was like, what the heck are those? And he goes, it gets people to slow down. So I gave it a try. And you really don't have to do much more than obey the speed limit. You can make it around these circles without any problems. And Milwaukee has figured out a way to plow around them. And I think it's an environmental way of slowing people down.
What do you think about slowing down bad behavior in city council?
Oof,
Dun, dun,
good segue.
Dun, 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 dun.
I like that.
Thank you. I've been working on my segues.
So can you give us a backstory and why are you talking about that?
I see this piece of paper that says City of Green Bay, Wisconsin Code of Conduct for Elected Officials. And so I'd like to, dig
Why
into
might
the
we be talking about that today?
background of that.
Why do you think we're talking about that today?
Well, in the hallway, we were talking about the whole Chris Weary, is it Debbie?
Debbie Jocks.
Joxy.
Yes.
What is it with me and last names? I can't get anybody right. And I talked to her for like an hour, but I don't repeat names. I guess I got to do that. So there's sort of a furor. So over the allegation that Chris was a contractor for Associated Bank and potentially eavesdropped. I don't know how you classify it on her bank account. And
He hasn't admitted that he did that, correct?
but that's the allegation.
Right.
Yeah.
He hasn't admitted to that, though.
I have a police officer here. He can help me
Retire.
a little bit on the law.
But let's make that clear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm not a police officer. I believe everybody's innocent until proven guilty. So allegation doesn't mean anything really. To me.
Right.
But that's the issue right now.
Okay.
And so there's been a follow-up lawsuit from Debbie
Jocks.
against Chris. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that, and that doesn't directly impact this the code of conduct, so to speak. But that's the current sort of political rumbling that I'm aware of.
So can I take this from here? Okay.
Yeah.
So during your campaign, by the way, in full disclosure, you were my opponent for the
Yes.
Green Bay City Council
Absolutely.
race.
Oh, yeah.
So how does it feel to win, Bill? Tell me all about it. Does it feel good? I bet it does.
It does. I mean, that's the hardest I've worked for a job in my entire life. And you know that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kept seeing I felt like I was following you all the time, creeping you out or something, because I'd always find your door knockers hanging there, or people, I had to just talk to Rhonda or things like that. So, but that was absolutely the hardest I've worked for any job I've ever had. And it was almost kind of a letdown after it was over. But it's nice not to be out freezing my fanny off, pounding the streets of Green Bay right now. And
Really? Because I didn't think it was cold at all. I'm sorry you felt that way.
for God's sakes, I was
I'm kidding.
You're a liar.
I'm totally kidding.
I know.
The advantage of audio only. You can obfuscate your facial
Okay,
expression.
so
And I will admit, you could easily be sitting in this position instead of me right now. And I think you'd be doing as good a job or probably a better job than I'm going to do. Who knows?
can we quote you on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Well, so and that even goes to the presidential election, right? Oftentimes we'll have two really good candidates, and then a different time we'll have two really bad candidates, and or in a different district or for a different position, and that's just the way the stars align. So
No, it was really hard to run against somebody who wasn't, you know.
Yes, I know.
That was difficult.
underqualified.
Well,
I want to
and
guess your adjective.
I couldn't
now.
really poke. I couldn't poke holes in anything. So there was a challenge there for me. But anyway, I appreciate the I guess the flavor of the race. There was a lot of respect. There was a lot of consideration. I have no regrets. I hope you don't as well.
Absolutely. I felt if I couldn't win on who I am, then I didn't deserve to be in there. I don't want to win on what other people are. I have to, it's me. And
Yep, you're the one doing the job.
right, so you can't be the one, and that's why I didn't want to bring up, or try and find, or the campaigns today, especially on a presidential level, it's not so much about what they are, it's what the other people are, negatives, and everything, and that's not who we should be electing.
Well, I know one thing you did talk a lot about during your campaign. I do know this was the code of conduct and the behavior of some individuals, and just the what's happening at the city council, and how it's really just gone down the toilet as far as the demeanor, the conversation, the reasons why people are even sitting there in the first place. And I think, having talked about, let's go back to what's happening with Chris Weary and Debbie Jocks. It's quite possible that this is going to be put forward before the ethics committee.
Yes.
Correct? And so for the very first time, the code of conduct that was passed last year is going to get it's implemented. We're going to possibly see something happening with it.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that?
Well, the code of conduct was something that was instituted a couple of years ago, and it was pretty prominent in the media for a while, pros and cons on it. Committee members were voicing their opinions on it. It's in place now. People have a year from the date of an incident to file a complaint. They have to be able to substantiate the complaint. And there's penalties if it's a false complaint and it's proven that they knowingly filed a false complaint. So, there's some checks and balances there so that people can't just go out and frivolously file complaints against elected officials. So the complaint here would be that I believe Debbie, the party that was the victim here, or alleged victim, would be the one that would have to file this complaint.
So she hasn't filed anything with the city with the code of conduct.
No, she
today.
hasn't. No,
Okay.
I was in contact with the mayor's assistant today, found out who's all on the committee, and they are going to be former or current committee members are going to be calling for a meeting just so we can all meet, get together, understand the ins and outs of how the committee works and how an ethics complaint would be handled.
So what are let's just say, the committee finds that he did something wrong and it's, justified for some sort of, punishment, I guess. What happens there? Can he literally be taken off the council? Is this something that can happen through the code of conduct?
I'll
Or
be
is it more of
honest,
a spank?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I've read through it basically 2 times, but I haven't really gotten down to the nails on it to see exactly how it works. I understand how the complaint is filed. I understand what the complaint can encompass, what areas that we fall under here. But as to the actual punishment, I never really got that far into it to see. And it's never been used before, so.
And for more full disclosure, Chris Weary did not vote for the code of conduct. There were 3 aldermen, I believe, that did not. It was Chris Weary, Tom DeWayne, and who's the other one? I'm trying to remember. Oh, I know. Guy Zima. He did not as well. These are 3 aldermen that voted to not implement this code of conduct. So it's just very interesting how this is all happening.
Well, it'll be interesting if it doesn't actually have any teeth, though. Maybe that was part of the reservations. Like, what's the point in wasting everybody's time if nothing actually comes of it. So this whole
Right, exactly.
test is going to be extremely telling, I think.
But I mean, if, I guess what would have teeth? What could you do? What would you have to do to actually have anything happen to you?
Well, I mean, if there's an ethical issue and it comes out that, you kind of were not ethical, then they should vote you off the island. That, to me, that's very straightforward.
The island of the Green Bay City Council.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if that's our point, if our point is that we're trying to instill ethics into our city council, we have lots of other people that'll take the jobs.
I worry a lot about, we already have enough people who are apathetic to running for office as well as voting for local office.
Yep.
But this worries me in general about the environment out there. And what's going to happen, the fact that there's all this infighting, we can talk again. We can go to something with the advisory committee wanting to take control of who appoints committees. And I know that Bill.
Just call me Bill.
Okay. Bill, you had talked about that with me as well, about, right as we stand right now, the council is trying to take, I guess, in a sense, the power away from the mayor's ability to appoint committees. Right. And
Correct.
Where does that stand right now? Because again, it's just more, I feel like, I don't know, it's like one big shit show, and then we're all just watching it happen. And then there's really, people are trying to gain control of it, but it's like swirling down the drain.
Understand that, the council is the check and balance, and the mayor, it's a check and balance.
Right.
Just like the state senate and the legislature, the governor, there's checks and balances. And so understanding that if we had, and I'm not referring to anyone currently in a position now, but just for the sake of argument, if we had a very poor mayor who either wasn't doing his job at all or was doing his job incorrectly, then it would be the force of the council to try and balance that and correct the ship, so to speak.
Right.
Same way it's the mayor that was elected to lead the city. He's the captain of the ship. But he has a council that approves or disapproves his actions. And if you have a overly strong mayor, he might be doing things that the population in general don't like, but of course he would answer to them at the very next election. But it's 4 years till that next election unless he commits some kind of an act that would have him removed from power. So
But do you believe that they actually should be doing this? Do you think that they have every right to be having these meetings? I mean, this is something, according to most people, the council really has a lot of power that people don't realize. And they have the ability to take that power away from the mayor. Should that be happening right now? Is this something we should even be wasting time talking about? Because these are 2-hour meetings where these aldermen are sitting there. Some of them actually play Candy Crush during those meetings. I've witnessed that. But they're
post to Instagram.
But they're actually sitting there. Oh yeah, it happens. But they're actually taking time. I mean, we have serious issues in the city to deal with. We have very important issues to deal with, and this is what they're doing.
Right.
With their taxpayer salary.
Well, and if you read the code of conduct, it does tell us to, although I think someone trying to challenge the ordinance as to how the mayor makes appointments may be not the right thing to do. According to this code, I have to take it with the flavor that they're doing it for the people of the city, that they're not doing it because they have a personal axe to grind or anything else like that. And so when I sat there at that first meeting, and it was pretty intense. I mean, I used to be on a bargaining rep for the police department. I sat through some pretty intense bargaining sessions, and I would put it right up on that level, part of that meeting. And they were looking for any kind of a crack within the ordinance to take advantage of it to appoint people they wanted on committees instead of the mayor. And I think the city attorney did a very good job explaining it 6 or 7 different ways so that people would understand that they can't. Going forward, if they want to change that ordinance, they certainly have the right. I don't personally see a need for that right now. I think that the mayor makes the appointments. We elected him to be the mayor to do that. I think he's trying to do what he thinks is best for the city, and I think that we should just let it go. Should we have a mayor that is making bad appointments or stacking committees for the wrong reason, then I like the fact that the council has the ability to try and change that if they can.
Well, that's what I've never understood. It's like, there's a lot of discussion at committee. I actually really enjoy going to those meetings because there is a lot of interesting discussion that can't necessarily always happen at council. But at the end of the day, the council makes that decision.
Absolutely.
So do they not understand that? Like, what is that?
Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And obviously that's what we're seeing right now. I don't agree with it. I think the council voted that the ordinance shouldn't be changed. And I think they should abide by that. But if they want to meet and try and enact a change, then the system allows it.
And wasn't it that the change was actually going to happen 2 years from now? It wasn't going to be immediate.
Well,
I feel like that was the motion on the floor, that they're going to do this in 2 years. It's like, what is that exactly?
And that I don't know. And again,
I feel like it was delayed. Like there was some sort of a delayed
for the
implementation for the action.
So for the ethics rules thing, yeah. Well, so the idea there was they wanted to make it clear that we're not doing this to punish any individual that's currently in office.
No,
it's for the next term. It's for the next go round, so that everybody has an even playing field.
So that people couldn't be
that's the idea. It doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
Don't give me the wrinkled eyebrows.
Yeah.
Can you hear me groaning? What?
Right, and I can kind of see that because someone could enact an ordinance for whatever with an idea of something that just recently happened, and then they want to try and drag you back into that. Which is why when you look at criminal law, someone can be convicted for something and they're sentenced, and you have to look at what was the law and what were the applicable penalties for it at that time, not 5 years later or 5 years before that. And
yeah, I mean, this is what it feels like. It feels like the council has become it's like a courtroom lately. Like that's what it feels like more so.
It's sort of supposed to be. There's supposed to be rules. They're supposed to follow it, and if they don't like the rules, they're supposed to.
Can we combat rules with ideas, though? I'd like to see more ideas come forward as well as just rules and infighting and pissing matches.
But the ideas are supposed to come within the framework of the rules.
Oh, you're just so positive and.
Well, and most of the stuff is enacted with that idea.
I think that was sarcasm. I'm not
Maybe. It would just be nice to see some of these people. Okay, let me clarify.
Yeah.
Some of these people who spend so much time trying to, stir the pot, if you bring at least 2 ideas forward first.
Well,
let's see that happen.
So I don't think that most people think of themselves as stirring the pot. Very few people would characterize themselves that way. They think that they are fighting for truth and justice. They're fighting for the taxpayers. They're fighting for the disadvantaged, whatever, right? Everybody has their people that they're fighting for. And that's the lens that they look at things through. So I don't know that they don't have ideas. I think that once in a while they do need to take a step back and look at the big picture and maybe evaluate their behavior from the outside.
Well, here's an idea. This actually came forward on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Okay.
There was a communication put forward from Andy Nicholson, who is alderman in District 3. Why? I guess I'm wondering what he's looking for. This isn't the first time I've seen this, but he'd like to know the amount of shots fired and violent crimes for the past 10 years. This was his communication he brought forward to the city clerk. He wants this investigated. Do you happen to know why that might be, Bill Galvin?
Yes, this is related to the sheriff's communication to the county board that he may have to expand the jail to take in more prisoners. And Andy believes that the mayor has been downplaying crime in the city. And so he's looking for statistical data to show that one way or the other.
And what they're going to spend? Is that where they're going to spend $22 million on that the jail? Is that what's on the table right now?
That's the initial thrust from the sheriff, is it could cost up to or around $22 million.
Wow. And what would that include, an expansion? Do you know?
It would be more cells for more prisoners.
What a great business we have in our city.
Yeah.
Well, that's
interesting.
It does. I mean, it costs the city of Green Bay. I mean, you pay taxes to maintain the jail and staff it. We pay our share. But on top of that, everybody that Green Bay locks up, this county charges them a $40 turnkey fee per day, per prisoner. So if you have, say, 100 prisoners in the jail, and 50 of them were locked up by Green Bay, then you're paying 50 times 40 per day that they're in there.
Can you imagine if we took that money and put it into the schools?
Yeah.
Maybe to prevent these people from
All
actually
right.
ending up in jail.
No.
Sorry. I had to say it.
Take your Birkenstocks off and go sit in the corner.
I'm sorry.
So I just Googled this because this is kind of and I think we're probably in somewhat agreement on this stuff. The United States has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prisoners. I don't think we need more prison space. That's my personal opinion on that. I don't think that we're underreporting crime either. I think that every single crime that happens gets amplified 100 times over on Facebook. There were shots fired. I saw that post 100 times on Facebook the next day. That's the one crime, and everybody sees it. So
So having said that, do you think that is is Andy Nicholson doesn't want the county to expand the jail? Like what is he looking
what's
for
the
with
actual
this?
end game there?
See, and that I don't know. I can't look into Andy's mind and find out why he wants that information.
What an amazing power that would be.
I guess we'll have to wait till he gets the information and then see what he does with it, and then judge at that time whether it was a good use of the department's employees' time to put that data together for him or not.
All right. So can we segue into some issues that are happening? Issues
It's your show, Rhonda.
Issues du jour. It is not my show. But I think it's important to know the Colburn Pool is moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit confused on the price tag. I was told.
I am too. It goes up and down.
Well, I know that the city committed last year to $3,500,000. With not much discussion, by the way. I just want to add that.
Wow.
Yeah. But now we're up to, is it $6,550,000? Is that just like an approximation of they think there may be some added costs?
No.
What's going on with that?
What?
Can we take a step back
Sure.
even further? And maybe Bill, you could answer this. What is this?
What is what?
What is this? I mean, so we have listeners that aren't necessarily.
The city of Green Bay has 3 pools. You have Joanne's, Fisk Park Pool, and then Colburn Park Pool. Joanne's and Fisk were converted years ago to a more modern, play-oriented type pool instead of your standard rectangular cement box, which was standard years and years ago. And those 2 pools have slides, fun games, things to entertain kids instead of just bouncing around in the water like we did 40 years ago. Right. Colburn was the last of these pools. The city park department and the city, in a long-range plan, had planned when that pool died, it was going to be buried, and that was it. There was going to be no more pool. As it's come to the end of its life, which is about 50 years old, I think, some interest was started to, instead of doing that, is to revitalize that pool and rehab it. At that time, a swim team came forward and said, we would love to maintain this 50-meter pool for our swim team to practice and have meets.
Do you know which swim team that was? Because I feel like a lot of the swim teams that have actually been at these meetings are outside of the city of Green Bay, like Pulaski, Ashwaubenon. These are...
That's absolutely that could be true. Let's face it, I thought there would have been 50-meter sites within Brown County, and I was surprised to find out I don't think there are any. I mean, I even thought UWGB or St. Norbert's would, but they have Olympic pools. Doesn't mean it's 50 meters. It just means it's an Olympic pool. It could be 25 meters.
And this discussion has been happening for 4+ years.
4+ years. And so they won support 4 years ago. The city committed to $3.5 million if this organization or the Friends of Colburn Pool could raise $1 million, which they did. Mm-hmm. That money has been placed in a 501(c) charity, but that money can only be used for Colburn Pool, and it can't be given back to the donors if this thing falls through. It stays with the charity it's currently with.
And that's written somewhere? Like that's an actual public document?
That's what I've been told.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is a lot of money, but...
According to Wikipedia, if it's an Olympic-sized swimming pool, it's 50 meters. Do we have zero?
We have zero. I thought St. Norbert's, when they're redoing their sports center, might do that. From what I found online, it's 25 meters. I thought GB would have one, 25 meters.
So, and then we can go with what you were going to say. But my personal opinion is, if UWGB didn't need one, I don't know why a public park needs one, especially an outdoor one that can only be used almost by definition 1/4 of the year.
Well, actually, it's only open 10 weeks out of the year.
Why was there no discussion about this at the council meeting?
To be honest with you, I don't know. This was handled, like I said, starting 4 years ago. And it was something that I didn't really, I knew about it, I was aware of it, read about it in the paper, but didn't put too much thought into it. I mean, I live on the east side. If my grandchildren now were to go to a pool, it'd be Joanne's.
And this is my take, and I'm not a Birkenstock wearing guy, but
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
You know what? Birkenstock should totally be a sponsor of our show.
We've said it, I think, 12,000 times. So.
But to me, when we have a public pool, it's there for kids.
Right.
It's not for, and I know swim teams are teenagers and everything.
Sure.
But generally speaking, they're not our most disadvantaged. And when we have public resources and we have lots of disadvantaged poor people in our city, whether we like to admit that or not, I feel like that is a misuse of funds. Case closed to me.
And the swim teams are coming. I feel like we talked about this last episode, but the swim teams are coming from the county.
Sure.
Why isn't the county putting some money into this pot?
Probably because Green Bay stepped up.
They stepped up.
But I don't know if anyone's asked them. I don't know if anyone's broached that idea with them. To be honest with you,
it's not, for me. Again, it's not the idea. It's the funding. It's the fact that there's
Well, but both go hand in hand, right?
Well,
I mean, there are lots of good ideas.
Well,
if we
sure.
don't have the money for them, we don't have the money for
No,
them.
this comes back to the right questions were not asked again.
Right.
And weren't demanded. And
Which means
weren't,
it's not a good idea.
well,
Well,
you look at
no,
the
I
Triangle
don't believe
Ski
that.
Hill. We have a county, city,
Yeah.
recreational area that was put together with city and county resources. So it certainly is possible. If it wasn't, it probably should have been explored at one time.
But don't you think we would be seeing a pool built at this point? I'm just speaking, the people that want this pool built, that took the time to raise $1 million, they probably would be swimming in it if they would have gone and had the county be part of this. And I don't know why the county wouldn't be part of this, since the swim teams are coming from the county.
I guess I don't understand why these people didn't raise their $1 million and help work with the YMCA or one of the high schools or UWGB or St. Norbert College, places where it can be utilized a little better. Those places already have swim programs. They're not going to come and use this outdoor pool. I mean, maybe they will, but I mean that they're not part of that discussion. So I don't understand why these people didn't focus their resources on something that already exists a little bit.
Well, and regardless of what we think today, it's happening.
And apparently,
It's happening.
Yeah.
So
it's a done deal.
Well, it's moving forward. The city has committed that 3.5, and that's going to be the tick. Is if it goes over that, which is what the consultant that the city hired
I think that's disgusting.
is telling them that it is.
So usually, if private citizens want something to be done, and it's not something that is going to impact everybody, it's not going to help everybody. Increase police protection, increase
Right.
fire protection, education, whatever. Right? These are things that are a blanket across the whole community. This is a tiny little pool in a tiny little segment of the city. Chris said 50 people were in support of this. So we're committing 2/3 and probably more of the budget for this thing for 50 people.
Well, he also asked for $250,000 of stadium funds to be put towards this. And I'm sure you, and I'm pointing at Alderman
Sure.
Galvin, can attest to the people that you talked to during the campaign. What did they want the money spent on?
Well, the pool, if the pool came up at all, the comment I heard, I never heard anyone in favor of it, using it for the pool. The comment I got was pools, regardless, you're not getting the enough juice for the squeeze. They're a poor investment because you're limited to 10 weeks out of the year. And even if it's open for 10 weeks, that water can be pretty darn cold. And so how much use are you going to get out of it? It's a nice thing to have. But from my constituents, I didn't hear anyone in favor of the Colburn Pool.
He did bring up the herb pool in Appleton. I guess there wasn't a lot of public discussion on that. The city of Appleton just spent money on the pool, and I think the price tag was even higher than the
Two wrongs don't make a right.
6,005. No, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this is the story that's out there, and he did bring up a point about that. I think it's interesting just the fact that the pool is going out for bids now.
Right.
Okay, that's what's happening. So they're going and they want to add, make sure they have all the details of like a diving board,
Right.
things that they want included in there, obviously, because why would you build it if you don't have what you need?
Right. And that's the thing. I'm conflicted on this. If they start taking out all the things that make it fun to be at the pool, if you're not on the swim team, then why have it? Because then it really is even less of an attraction to the community. Before Green Bay revitalized their pools, I had 4 young children, and I drove all the way to Kaukauna because they had a pool system set up like we have right now. And we drove for 2 summers to Kaukauna because they had that there. And I was willing to pay the money as a non-resident to get in there because it was fun, it was close, and it was a day trip. Now, if we're just going to have a rectangular pool that's 50 meters long, and I think the only people are going to use it are going to be swim team members and people in our community that like to lap swim for exercise. So if you start pulling out the climbing wall, the slides, the diving board, the zero clearance entry, all those kind of things, you're really going to have to scratch your head. Why are we pursuing this?
So you feel it's possibly that they're getting some sort of to some degree, special treatment. I mean, I would rather see a child swimming any day.
Yes.
Than sitting face first into a computer any day. But I think when it comes to the fact,
you're being a little harsh, but
no, that's how I feel. But it's just, again, the funding and how it's being allocated, and it feels like it's going around in circles. And it's like, well, someone just please pay for this fucking pool and let's just build it so that we can actually move on, or let's not. Like, it just feels like, I think that's when the public starts to become a little suspicious about the process of city government and what's happening. They don't trust it. There's some of it.
We don't have a firm number. We don't have a firm price tag.
Right.
And so
we had a firm price tag.
So,
no,
last
actually,
year,
actually,
right?
you see, and that's the thing I found out too by attending the Parks Committee meeting. They hire a consultant who looks at the overall job, and he says, based on my best figures, I come up with this price. But until, and this is going to take 4 months to do, people are going to sit down now and they're going to start drawing out these detailed blueprints showing doors, what type of doors, how do they close, what are they made of, the pipelines, the water, the wiring, the cement. Once you start getting those down, then you will have a true hard figure within certain parameters of how much this will cost.
Why didn't that happen within the last 4+ years?
Because that costs a lot more money. And the decision was never made whether to go forward or not. And that was Donnie Kramer's, she's in charge of parks. That was her frustration at the last meeting, is they walked away without saying what exactly they wanted. And that's why Randy was asking it to be sent back. But in the meantime, a deal was worked out that Donnie looked at the proposal that Chris Weary put forward and said, yes, if that's what everybody wants, then I'm okay with this going forward. But it costs a lot more money. Okay, we've hired this consultant. It costs a lot more money, though, to go forward and get these bids. And that's why these companies are doing these bids on their own dime with the hope that they'll get it. But there will be losers in that bid, and that's part of doing business. They understand that.
Absolutely.
But they won't be happy about it, but it's a cost they're willing to absorb in the hope that they do get the bid.
So it's more likely the pool will be built.
I think it's more likely that the pool will be built. There's some members of the council that think it's going to come in low. I think that's wishful thinking.
Well, it's still going to be more than half of the money raised, though. So when on Broadway, when we had a fund for signage, businesses would have to put up half up, and they would get up to half in matching funds for their signage. But that had to go to committee. It had to be approved. There were a lot of hoops they had to jump through, a lot of red tape, and they would get up to half. I don't understand why we have 50 people raising money, and then the taxpayers are on the hook for ? Above and beyond that.
Well, and that's
makes me nuts.
Well, and that's part of it where you start asking yourself, is there an agenda?
Yeah.
And I don't think an agenda on the part of the park department or an agenda on the part of the swim team or the neighbors that are interested. But is there an agenda within the council? Is this pool being used as a hammer for another purpose? But going by the code of conduct, we have to assume that everybody here has a pure heart and mind and is moving forward. The people that want to move this forward are moving forward because they think it is in the best interest of our community.
Okay, so could we safely say that this agenda, I'll take your Colburn Pool and I'll raise you with my baseball stadium?
Well, that has been suggested. And that's why I'm listening very carefully to the comments that council members are making, because when we get to the baseball diamond, I'm going to be interested in hearing what their thoughts are on that and compare it to their thoughts on the pool.
Are you in support of the fact that they asked the finance committee asked, and then the council ratified, they asked Big Top Baseball to, I guess, put another letter of intent forward?
Yes.
They get 6 weeks to do that, right?
I'm not sure what the time frame is, but I sat down with an official from, just full disclosure, sat down with an official from Big Top. I got a pretty good education on what they think they can do with this program. I think it sounds good for our community. At the current or the old price tag and agreement that we had, I wouldn't support it though. I thought the city was putting up too much.
You should ask them why Madison they spent a quarter of what
Right,
is being asked to spend.
and I'm not sure if that, I don't know if they built a brand new facility, because I think, what is it, Kenosha or Racine, where they have another facility, they rehabbed an old one. So I don't know why this cost is so much more than Madison. I know that Madison's holds a lot more people, and Big Top claims they have a pretty good sized turnout for every game.
Which means they make a lot of money.
Absolutely, and that's the purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, this is America.
So they should fit the bill then. Like I shouldn't fit the bill.
Well, the city could benefit. Okay, let's think. You look at the Broadway area, and I worked there that's where I cut my teeth on the job, okay? And I have not seen South Broadway from south of, say, not even Clinton Street, a little bit farther north of there. I haven't seen South Broadway really improve in any way at all. There's been some minor stuff, but not much. And it's been a ugly mix of residential and industrial. And it should have been one way or the other. And but that's the way cities were back in the day. And so that area has not caught up yet. If Big Top is built, and if it brings everything to the table they can, I think it would help raise property values. I think it would help with more dwellings or updating and improving on the dwellings in that area. And I think that would benefit the city in a way that you can't necessarily put a hard dollar figure on, like we made the Zip and Pippin. We made $1 million this year, or we took in $1 million this year. You get rid of the costs and everything. This is what our...
Well, I think those are two very different things.
Right.
And across the country, it's a pretty well accepted fact that stadiums are a poor investment for professional level teams, and this isn't even really a professional level team.
I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with that.
Well, that's sort of a fact thing.
So
like Detroit, Cincinnati, they've invested into stadiums in their downtown. They haven't gotten nearly a fraction of what the city had to put into
Right.
those. And those are for professional teams with followings, people coming from out of town, and that's the real
Right.
key, right? You want out of town money coming in. Nobody's going to come from out of town to go see the Bullfrogs. They're just not.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, that's going to be
so like, where is this money coming from? And in terms of like generating economic growth, we're just splitting the pie. We're not adding to the pie.
Well, if Big Top came in,
Yeah.
and they do the improvements they're talking about, and people decide, you've got that old the ship turning channel right there, and someone decides to build on the north side of that and put in some condos or apartment buildings. They have docks, they have boats in there. Does that help the city out? Does it help the community? If the property values were to go up even 5% or 10%, I'm spitballing.
Well, we're talking
here.
about millions. We're talking about percents of small valued properties, and then the taxes on that small percent.
Can I say something though? None of this is being discussed really openly. A lot of it's been in closed session, and I guess
that's the bigger problem.
That's the problem, and that is the problem for
Yeah.
people that are actually maybe contacting their alder person and saying, "Hey, a baseball stadium for what? What was the price tag like?
Sure.
How many million?" No, actually, there's a lot more to it, but the public doesn't know that because so much of it is in closed session,
Right.
and that is my personal issue with this is like there's all this taxpayer money, but the discussion, it very well could be a very viable project, but we don't know because it's in closed session and none of it's being discussed.
Right.
And they're requesting it to be in closed session, Big Top.
Well, and being new to this, I'm not sure why they do that. I'm not sure why you can't discuss what takes place in closed session, or why eventually what took place in closed session can't come out so that the voters can weigh in on it.
I think some of it is it's the fact that you have you've a private company, and I understand that piece of it. But when you're asking for all this taxpayer money and you kind of under your breath say, but there's going to be all this development that comes with it and all these other great things for the city, maybe you should talk about those things and you could actually get more public support for this project.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that needs to be there. I mean, I didn't know, but I was told that this stadium, if built, would become the new home field for West High School for football and soccer games. This would be a benefit to West High. Their soccer team, girls soccer team, couldn't even get on the field till their first game because it's a natural turf field. And because of the spring we had, it was too wet. They couldn't get out and practice. They had nowhere to practice. They had to practice indoors. Is that a huge thing in the overall scheme of things? No. But is that a benefit to the students of West High School? I think so, yes.
It's even that right there. So if Big Top was smart, they would have a PR campaign in the city, and they would actually go and, maybe they have some town hall meeting. I mean, Walmart did it. Ooh, did I just say that?
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
But I mean, they should do something like they should have some sort of campaign where they actually, we really want to be here. Really, how
Right.
bad do you want to be here? Maybe you start having some meetings
And Walmart
open
wasn't
to the
asking
public.
for public money.
But regardless,
These guys are asking for a
Yep.
even
huge,
that's what I mean. Even more
huge
so.
public
Even more
investment.
so.
Absolutely.
I just don't believe that that private businesses should be getting a huge windfall like that ever.
But maybe there's actually a lot that they could bring forward that they could explain to you.
Well, how do you
would make
explain
you feel
TIF
better.
districts? How do you explain a TIF district?
Well, the TIF district doesn't give a majority though.
That was
like
it.
this is a majority.
Okay, but
Yeah, it's a very much
sure.
a minority.
They were asking for
Yep.
roughly about 80%.
And if this was going to be a TIF where they're going to repay it somehow, and that was proven, and the payback is X amount of years, then that's something to talk about.
Right.
But that hasn't been brought up, as far as I know.
Right.
So-
Absolutely, yeah, it hasn't yet. But I mean, I think
I don't get it. I don't get how this is even an investment. If we're just giving this company $5 million and saying, "Hey, Green Bay would look better with a baseball
Well,
stadium,"
they're going to
and
pay it
not.
back.
So it's a loan.
Well, we're bonding for some of it, and they want. Well, let's just lay this out there. So for people that don't know,
I don't know.
They want $4 million of the stadium refund money, which I don't think they'll ever see personally. They also want an additional $4 million as I guess a loan, 20 years to pay back 20 years. They want 20 years to pay that back, and we would bond for that money, correct?
correct.
And that's how the financial piece of it's supposed
Well,
to
and,
happen.
and then
But how does that get paid for? If we bond for it,
we're paying on it.
we're
Yeah.
paying on it.
Right.
It's the opposite.
Well, yeah, we're a bank. They're using us as a bank, basically.
Well,
essentially.
except we're paying for it. They're not paying for it. Like if I go to a bank and I say, "Hey, bank, give me a loan," they'll say, "Okay, here's your $10,000. You're going to pay us, $21,000."
Well, we're bonding for it. But we're also bonding for the pool, and we're bonding for this.
Right.
And we're
That
bonding
means
for that, and we're
But that means the city is borrowing, and
Right.
the city is paying it back. So we're not just paying the $5 million; we're
Right.
paying the $5 million plus interest.
right.
It's kind of like you're taking out a loan to help your son buy a house.
Yeah, we're co-signing, but they're going, "But I'm not going to pay you."
And at the same time, we're not seeing. If you went to a bank, you would probably have to be pretty, I would think, transparent in
Yes.
in your financials and the details of your ability to pay that money back.
Absolutely.
And that's what's missing as well.
Right. And there's also, like they've revealed, there's other costs. There's going to be some changes to roads
Right.
and some infrastructure changes that are going to have to be made. When I talked to them, they said they had 750 parking spots. And I said, where do you have that? Well, they've already talked to the school district for the school district parking lot to use that. They've talked to the...
Are they going to help when that school district parking lot needs some new asphalt?
We see, and those are questions that the school district would have to answer. They've talked to the local church.
Because I'm sure I'd love that coming out of my child's school fund.
Well, the school district certainly has the ability, like over by the Packer Stadium, to charge a parking fee. And so would the church. I mean, I brought that up when I talked to Big Top. I said, are they going to be charging to park there? I mean, I see this as a good fundraiser for the church. I would see it as a good fundraiser for the school. Not tons of money when you consider their overall budget, but certainly they would bring in enough money, I think, to offset some of the costs if they had to improve their parking lot.
And this is, again, so much that has to be discussed before we hand
Yes.
over that money.
We're just talking.
Nobody's going to pay to park for a minor league baseball.
No, probably not.
There's not. I mean, people barely want to pay to park for the Packers.
Yes. Well, no, anything to do with the Packers, people are willing to.
Well, people come from out of town, they expect that, but nobody's coming from out of town for this. And people from in town, everybody's got their method, right?
Well, yeah,
you don't pay to park for the Packers.
But yeah, these are good points, and these are things going forward that I think
these are just common sense. These aren't even. I don't know anything. Rhonda's already corrected me on some of the things. You've corrected me on some of this, but I still am not convinced that this is even close to an investment, much less a good investment. This sounds like we're just giving money and at interest. I mean, when we talk about bonding, like you bond for things like the infrastructure that you need, and maybe you bond for a school. You don't bond for a baseball stadium. That is a luxury by definition. That's a luxury.
Oh, sure.
An Olympic pool is a luxury.
So can we talk about the infrastructure, because I know that you heard a lot about that as well during the campaign. Mm-hmm. And that is an issue, and it's a really high price tag. What is the plan? Because we can't continue to pretend that the potholes, the roads,
right.
The storm sewer situation is a nightmare. So what are they going to do about that?
Well, the storm sewer. I talked to Steve Greiner at DPW, and he said that the article that the Press Gazette put out, while accurate, wasn't exactly how he explained it. We do not need, in his opinion, to tear out all the storm sewers in the city of Green Bay. We have some storm sewers that are doing an adequate job but we have areas that do need to be worked on.
We have areas that you could probably canoe down the road.
Yeah, I've seen it. Shawano Avenue,
right.
Ashland Avenue, some areas like that out in Preble. Some of these were mistakes that were made 30, 40, 50 years ago when we weren't having the rains and the water levels in the river weren't where they are. I mean, we have some storm sewers where their outlets are underwater because the water at the time they were put in was down that low. And so these are things that need to be done. The city does not have the ability to do that work or even put together the plan. So they are planning on bringing in a consultant to do a master plan and then see what the true cost, again, like the pool, see what the true costs are going to be, and then implement a plan to replace the storm sewers.
When is this happening?
It's already starting in the process right now. Because I ask questions. You see streets that get resurfaced, and then you get streets that are totally redone. When they're totally redoing the street, where they're gutting the entire street, this is a good time to replace storm sewers and any other infrastructure that may need to be looked at. Lead pipes, things like that.
Can we talk about the lead pipes? I know we're running out of time. The lead pipe, city approved $300,000
right.
to be allocated for a lead pipe. I know you love that, Elliot.
The lead pipes?
The city paying for people and helping with their lead pipes.
I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I want to be aware of what the actual costs are and what we're going to do about people who maybe a year or two ago had to pay to replace their own,
right?
And how we make that right.
Right. The money has been set aside. How it's going to be spent has yet to be voted on. It's earmarked there. We may not even need it. The DNR has recently put out that, and I must have read the article wrong. I thought it was $750,000, but Alderman Joe Moore told me it was $500,000. A city of our size would qualify for up to $500,000 to help offset that. But neither of us know, because we haven't contacted the DNR, exactly how is that money to be used.
Okay.
We're also looking at an ordinance, though. The best time to replace the lead pipe from the city's point into the homeowner's house is when the city's replacing it on their end. That's the best time to do it.
And can you explain, isn't it something about because it kicks up the lead?
It kicks up the lead. You have, there's going to be a lot of vibration and things like that taking place when the city does this work. I mean, if you've stood in your house and had street work done, you can actually feel your house vibrating. So that shakes these lead particles loose, which send them through your water system. Ever since I moved into my house on Emily Street, I've known that I have to run the water X amount of time long in the morning, just in case there is lead. My house is completely lead free.
But do you know how many people don't know that? They don't actually know to do that. And now they're finding out that they should have been doing that the entire time.
But you see, this is America. I think I had those mailings when I moved in, and I've had it since I moved in, and so I was cognizant of it. A lot of people look and pitch. Okay, it's.
I don't recall ever getting anything like that.
You see, and I recall.
I mean, maybe mine's fine.
Yeah,
I don't really
that's
know.
because yours is fine.
Okay.
Well, and I just live in that area, so I got this generalistic mailing from the water department.
About when was that?
4 or 5 years
Oh,
ago.
okay. So pretty recent.
Right, and now the more recent one, and then the homeowner before me actually had the lead pipes that go out to the city's water system replaced. When I moved in, I had all the water pipes, so now I have these cool blue and red plastic pipes, which is kind of neat. So now I know where the hot water is and what's cold water, and I'm not going to screw that up when I'm messing with it.
Right.
I don't have to solder anything anymore, and all the mess I used to do with that. So it feels good to know that. I've always filtered my water for the most part, regardless. But I really don't need to.
So are you comfortable with what the city is doing?
I like the fact the city is moving forward to enact an ordinance that when the city is replacing their share of the lead pipes, that the homeowners will have to replace it, so that once and for all, it will be a done deal. I like the fact the city is moving forward that until that takes place, prospective home buyers or renters will be notified if the residence they're going to buy or move into has lead pipes. I think that's only the decent thing to do.
Are you getting phone calls or emails about this yet?
I am getting some. People, the main concern I'm getting, though, is are we going to pay for people that have lead pipes changed out who don't even live at the residence but rent it out and they're making a profit off of it? And I understand that concern. I'm also, people have had a concern about, hey, I paid to have mine replaced.
I think that's the big.
Why do they get theirs
really.
for free? And I think the city needs to take a hard, long look at that. I would be, at this point in time, more in favor of the city loaning those individuals the money to replace it.
And they just tack it onto their property tax.
Right, over a period of time, even a zero interest loan.
Yeah, like 10 years.
Because I talked to some constituents, and I'm going to tell you, I'm in a pretty good place in my life right now.
Yeah.
And but I talked to some people who are not, and they said any increase in my taxes is going to hurt.
Right.
And we have to think about everybody. And so
These are the people that are frustrated with a situation like the baseball stadium. That's
absolutely,
what I kept hearing.
we're spending money on a ball diamond, and
Right.
we're not spending money on our roads. We're not spending
cutting
money
taxes.
on. We're not cutting taxes. We're not making life easier for me. And so there is definitely a balance here. And as an elected official, I've got to be aware of that all the time. I cannot. When I look in the mirror, I can't see myself when I'm thinking about these things. I have to think about all those people, and you and I both talk to them. And the spectrums that cover their lives. And so it's those aren't easy decisions going forward.
So let me ask you a question. And I'd like to know this. There's, especially, you ran and you talked a lot about the code of conduct on the council and
Absolutely.
What's happening there right now. What are you going to do to lead the charge to make sure that we can bring respect and honor back to the council, and so people actually, maybe they do become more engaged in the process. They start running, they start coming out, and they finish the ballot when they go to the voting booth. They actually go all the way down.
That was shocking. Yes,
it was shocking. Almost 20% of people didn't finish the local ballot, but to some degree, it's a laughing stock. The city council, it does not have the cause sometimes to request some of that attention and respect. So what are you going to do personally to make that different?
Well, I'm going to make this document something that I can recite chapter and verse, so that when I'm
this document you're holding is what?
Yeah, that's for you that can't see through my eyes.
This, so you gotta tell
This
us.
feels like a court of law right here.
It's the
or
code of
the official record.
Yeah, it's the code of conduct for elected officials. And I think, and I sit there, and as I read through this, I think about the last 2 meetings I sat through, and I think, was that a violation or wasn't that a violation? And then I'm going to have to abide by it, because I'll tell you right now, I've been frustrated at the last 2 meetings. I think we waste, I call it wasting oxygen. We've wasted oxygen talking, and I sometimes think that people think they have to be heard. I think you get heard by how you vote, not by what you say. Unless what you're saying is an attempt to try and educate people so they can make a more informed decision about an upcoming vote. I have no problem with that.
They all think that that's what they're doing, though.
Well,
Yeah, but can I say something? I want to say something about that.
Sure.
And you are my, I ran against you, but now you're my alderman.
Right.
And I want to see you say something. I want to see you say something more than Tim Duane, who I like as a person, but he knows this. I've told him myself. you never said anything. You voted, but we didn't know why. We didn't know how you arrived at your vote. We didn't know anything about it. And we didn't even know, if you abstained about something.
Well, and you make a good point. Because, I'm sitting there thinking, well, this older person, they all said the same thing, I would say. Like, example about the Quick Trip. Everyone, for the most part, went on and on about how much they like Quick Trip. Do I want to take 5 minutes to tell you how much I like about Quick Trip?
You can take 2 minutes.
Okay.
Well, or you can just say, I agree with what's already been said.
Right.
I think
that'd
be fine.
That's a very good point, and that's the thing that I always want to be open to is the ability to have my mind changed. And I'm going to be honest with you. You're the first person to make that point, and it's a very good point.
I'm the first person?
You are, absolutely. That has said, I want to hear what you have to say on a matter, even if it repeats what 11 people before you and 50 people from the crowd just said. And so you make a good point there.
Well, and especially on like big or important issues,
Yes.
which may be two different things, big monetarily, like this baseball stadium, the swimming pool, the pipes, the sewers.
Yep.
Like these are all huge issues. I think everybody needs to weigh in.
Absolutely. But I don't want to talk before I think I'm totally educated on something, because it's easy to
let
have
me tell you, that's not always important because people will correct you.
Well, and that's good. I mean, in a way, that's just what happened right here with Rhonda. Sure. With Rhonda saying, something. The reason why I want you to say something is because I want to hear what you have to say, not just that you vote. And so,
well, and it tells me that you've taken the time to research. You care. You're actually participating. You're not just showing up. And not that I think that's how you would be, but that is, I think, what's also frustrating about, elected officials. It's like they're collecting a paycheck, they're showing up, it's really easy just to hit a button and vote. We want to know why. We want to know, even if it's 2 minutes, of how you arrived at your vote and what you're, where you sit with it. That also helps people when they need to call you or contact you as well to maybe know where you sit with it.
Right.
It's just, I think it reaches out to the public, and, that's always my big thing is like the public needs to be more involved, more engaged.
Oh, absolutely.
And, they want to know what you have to say.
And it's easy to check out. I mean, with negative politics, it's easy to say, to hell with it. I'm actually surprised it wasn't the reverse, where 19% of the people didn't bother to vote for the presidential primary, because to me, that's it's been such a whole negative experience. But right, it's and let's face it, you and I left enough literature at enough people's doorways that they couldn't possibly say they didn't have the opportunity to be educated about both of us to make a decision one way or the other.
If they looked at it.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, we certainly, both of us, between the two of us, we did our jobs to leave no stone unturned for people to educate themselves about either one of us and both of us.
Plus, we each walked our butts off as well.
Right. Right. So I got to give kudos to my kids and my wife. She spent 1 week of her spring break walking.
It's a great exercise, Brian.
It was. I mean, I wasn't doing my usual workouts, and that's certainly...
Why couldn't one of you have moved to a different district?
Well, because I'll tell you why. Because I think we both live in the best district in the city.
Oh, that's a good answer.
So, I mean, I wouldn't leave it for
trouble.
I'll tell you, my wife said after we moved here, she wishes we had raised our children here.
Wow.
And I grew up in that district. So, I mean, it's...
and that district would be District 4.
Yeah.
For people that don't know.
It rocks.
I'm in District 9. I wouldn't mind if you moved to my district.
We have to do a better job. We have to get these people engaged. And I talk to a lot of young people. I talk to a lot of older people, older than me, who ask, well, what does an alderman do? Or I had people go, I live in De Pere. Can I vote for you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And granted, because of my job with the police department, I understood more how city council works, those kinds of things. But I was still surprised. And again, full disclosure, I did not have the best voting record going back over the years. It was only within like the last 10 or 15 years that I started making the effort to go every time. So, I mean, it's something that people have to wake up and realize that, and I don't mind if I get bombed with emails or phone calls, or people reach out to me at the grocery store when they see me and give me their opinion. And granted, I may not always agree with them. And that's going to be the difficult thing going forward is, do 50 people dictate where a district goes? And what else can you do if all the input you have is from those 50 individuals?
Right.
So,
I think if it's overwhelming, though, if the message is overwhelmingly one way, then it's you are representing people.
I do. And
But it's tough if it's the same 50 people that always reach out and they feel a certain way. You don't know that that's representative. I think
Which
that's what
comes
he's
back
saying.
to, the idea of how to make city council, a place people really do
Right.
want to be participating in.
Right.
And what are you going to do to make that possible?
well, we have our neighborhood associations, which from the police department, I loved them. They were a great way to reach out to the citizens to get input and to get information out. Not everybody watches all 3-4 channels that we have. Not everybody reads the paper. Not everybody listens to the news. But if your neighborhood association has your email and they can put out regular information and I become part of that, I can get information out to them instead of spending taxpayer dollars and sending out mailings and things like that. I think also, we got to look at places like our local churches and our schools. And those are other different ways of engaging the people. And there's like this podcast, Facebook. There's a number of other different ways, but we have to continuously make an effort and be willing to look at new ways of reaching out and making contact with the people that we represent.
So did you ever think you'd be sitting here doing a podcast?
Hell no. In fact, when I first saw this podcast thing and I listened, during the election you did a podcast and I listened to it. And I was like, what the hell? Who listens to, what is a, and I had
Apparently you do.
well, I do now. I had asked my kids, what's a podcast? And, they explained it to me. Just like I'll admit, my Facebook page, if it wasn't for my daughters, nope, wouldn't have been there. But I love my Facebook. I have two. I have one for government and one for my family, basically. And it's
Right.
and my wife says, I have nothing to do with that Facebook. But I'm always going, oh, here's your niece and nephew in Colorado.
Right.
Oh, here's your
Right.
little grandson, and this kind of stuff. And here's your friends, and this is a neat way of staying in touch without getting on the phone and blah, 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 blah. So, I like it. I think it's useful. But we have to continuously be willing to spread our wings and try different things.
Do you have any closing comments?
No. I mean, I've got a lot to say, but we could go on for hours.
Yeah.
But
so if you could name like one thing that you would like to see the city of Green Bay or the city council do over the next year, what would that be?
I would like to see us bury the hatchet, whatever the hatchet is that we have with each other. Understand we are never always going to agree 100% on everything, but that when we go forward with items, that we go forward with nothing but the best interests of the citizens we represent. Not the fact that this guy called me out or did this or got something approved that I didn't believe in, and so now I'm going to try and get even or destroy something or hinder something that he's trying to do or she's trying to do. That always our goal is what's best for the city of Green Bay and the people that live there.
It is a playground, really. And I do want
What is right now?
It is. Well,
Shouldn't
I
be.
want to give a shout out to Alderman Joe Moore because he actually, I think he stepped up at the last meeting and he just called like, okay, no, we're not doing this.
Right.
I mean, and that I think needs to happen because I think the problem is just like any toddler, right, that's out there, they continuously push buttons because they can.
We need to shut that down. And some people are experts at getting the ability to talk at these meetings and saying what they really need to say and then slide in little digs that are unnecessary and don't do anything to further whatever we're talking about.
But I think, and I agree with you, but I'm going to go back to, I do believe it's not one person's job to lead that. And I hope to see that
Absolutely.
happen continuously if the behavior's there. I hope to see, because obviously strength in numbers, right?
Right.
I hope to see more people doing that. So then it does shut these people down. So we can move forward
Right.
with what we need to do.
And that's, this is, as I've read through this is a document. I'm holding up the document about the Code of Ethics.
Code of
The only
Conduct.
document on the
Yeah,
table.
the only document on the table. I think this is something we're going to have to start using. It says here that the mayor's supposed to hold these people accountable. Unfortunately, some of these people have a conflict with Jim, and it's going to be hard for him. So you're right. And if you don't see me stepping up, or anyone out there that's listening to this doesn't see me stepping up, or think I should do more, I want to be called out on that.
Well, I'm asking you right now to please do that. Please do that, sir.
I will try. And
Thank you.
Like I said, hit me in the back of the head with a pencil if you need to during the meeting if you think I'm not doing it, or send me a text.
Well, and I feel like just doing things like this, I feel like you've already stepped up, honestly, and I very, very much appreciate that.
Well,
I think we should wrap up. Thank you for being here,
well, I appreciate you having me.
Alderman Galvin, who likes to be called Bill.
Bill.
And I would also appreciate if anybody listening, if you could share this episode on Facebook, on Twitter, with your friends. Go on to iTunes, go on to Google Play, go on to Stitcher, and rate this episode and give a review. Also, shoot us a message. I'm Elliot on Twitter. Rhonda is Sitnikow.
At Sitnikow.
At Sitnikow. All right. And this is politicalradar.com episode number 2. And you can get to that politicalradar.com/2.
Hey, possible penalties?
Uh-oh.
Anything from informal censure to removal of the council member.
Okay.
So
let's see if it has teeth.
We look forward to hearing back. If you enjoyed this episode of Political Radar, please share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. Even better, submit a show review to iTunes or Stitcher. To listen to other episodes of Political Radar, please visit politicalradar.com/episodes. To support our podcast, please visit our sponsors who make the show possible. You can do this by visiting politicalradar.com/sponsors.
Thanks for listening to Political Radar. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. To stay up to date, visit politicalradar.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter.
Political Radar is a proud member of the Newsmakers Podcast Network, an ever-growing network of podcasts covering a wide range of topics. Check them out at npcn.tv.